I vividly remember the first time that I picked up Kingdom Hearts 2 shortly after its release. I was staying over at a relative's house and I'd brought 20 to 30 games with me to trade in at EB Games, or GameStop for any American viewers, down to the local store, gave them those games to trade in, and I'm pretty sure I still had to use a significant amount of my allowance at the time to cover the differential.
See you, chump.
I remember we didn't leave their place for another 2 days or 3 days, and I just kept looking at the reflective foil cover the original release of the game came out with. Now, with this game and so many others meaning so much to me and my connection with them, it got me thinking about my connection through nostalgia and how I feel a lot of that nostalgia through media. If you were to ask your parents or relatives about things that they had felt nostalgic for, they would probably not bring up a media franchise as one of their first options. They might mention foods or smells or places or art. The only general media that they may probably feel nostalgic for is music, which is normal. I mean, music's been around for over 100 years, while myself and probably some others have a general sense of nostalgia through media, which I don't think is that surprising considering how much media has boomed within the 80s to early 2000s and how much of those media franchises from back then are still around and ongoing. And some of those media franchises, when releasing a new project, even refer to past projects. The one that really comes to mind for me as of currently is when Fortnite released its new OG season. Obviously a throwback to the original season of the game. And the amount of people that were coming back to the game, the amount of content that flooded online about people returning and having this nostalgic throwback to their original experience.
Dude, look at it! We're back! We're back! The double pump is back too!
And this was sort of like an endgame of media nostalgia. There was a throwback season of the game, which you got to personally experience, and there was also a constant bombardment of videos hitting social media about people's reaction to the nostalgic gameplay. And with the rise of TikTok and really short form content, it's not surprising to see that so many people would be pushing this content that kind of pulls at your nostalgic heartstrings, which would give you a similar Madeline effect that Marcel Proust wrote about.
What?
Marcel Proust wrote a 7-volume classic, Remembrance of Things Past. He took a bite of a Madeleine. It's a kind of a tea cookie he used to have when he was a child. And that one bite unleashed a tide of memories of his childhood and ultimately of his entire life.
But compared to the nostalgic effect that our parents or relatives would have felt, again, through more physical means of like food and smells, art, touch, if we are experiencing so much of our nostalgia through media, and that media is constantly being thrown in our face, is that going to weaken our connection with our own nostalgia? I sometimes feel that in my own experience. I used to feel extremely nostalgic about Kingdom Hearts 2. I remember watching videos of it in my early teens when I first found out about Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix and how it was like this Japanese exclusive version of the game with all this extra content and changes that just wasn't available in the West. You know what? So much so, actually. When I went to Japan last year, picked up a Classics Ultimate Hits version of the game because I thought I had to this is like something like I owed myself. But when I think about Kingdom Hearts 2 now and my general feeling about it, I don't feel as nostalgic about it anymore. And I really do think that's because of how much of it I see on a pretty regular basis. It's constantly shown in TikTok edits or used as aesthetic photos in Pinterest. I even used the original music and intro in the beginning of this video, for instance. And because I see it so much, I also don't feel as nostalgic about it anymore. Because it's not this piece of media from my past that I barely see, but more of something that's constantly in the background that I'm just not noticing. And I think it's pretty obvious that a lot of media franchises are banking on nostalgia. If you look at a lot of massive Hollywood films or big game releases, they're generally of franchises you've heard about. They could be sequels to older movies or complete remakes. That applies to both games and movies, even TV shows and comics. Plus, when you throw in the fact that there's multiple social media accounts that are just based on the fact that it's a nostalgic throwback, and those accounts have thousands of followers and people who seek out their own nostalgia, it's not surprising to think that maybe we are losing that connection with it. Even when massive franchises aren't remaking or adding a sequel to their past projects, they're still referring to it. The most recent MCU Spider-Man film was a massive throwback, adding both Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back into their roles as their own Spider-Man. And the crowd reaction to seeing them was nothing short of insane. But to add on top of that, there are people who make videos on TikTok about missing this feeling. And it was the feeling of going to that movie, going to something that they had seen less than 6-7 months ago and missing a nostalgic feeling. They are feeling nostalgic for nostalgia that didn't even happen over a year ago. The way that we're being served so much media constantly, it can make us also kind of adverse to new media projects because they're not what we used to have. So it's obvious why Hollywood would bank on what's reliable. They're not going to go out on a whim and put $1 billion into a new franchise that they don't know is going to work, because why would you do that? But they could easily put that $1 billion into the next Spider-Man movie. And don't get me wrong, I love Spider-Man. I have a Spider-Man tattoo. I have this freaking Spider-Man cutout from the original Spider-Man 1 PS4 release. Look how dusty that is. I have a freaking shrine committed to him. So could that be a result of us losing a connection to nostalgia? Or even an adverse effect that maybe we're growing a hunger for it. We want more content to be reminding us of our younger days, our childhood, and something that reminds us of who we used to be. It's ironic because in Greek, nostalgia
literally means the pain from an old wound. It's a twinge in your heart, far more powerful than memory alone.
This video is kind of a tangent, but I did want to ask you, the audience, if any of you wanted to answer, is do you think that we are losing our connection with nostalgia? Or do you think that we're growing it? Do you think that's becoming stronger? Or do you agree with the point I made earlier when I said maybe we're not losing it or gaining it, but our hunger for it is higher than ever? I would honestly love to hear some opinions on this. I think nostalgia is a powerful and, quite frankly, really important emotion that we should all feel. I think it's a great reminder of the people that we used to be, the people that we're becoming, and helps shape us into who we are today. So much of who you are today is based on the steps that you took in the past. There are people who dress a certain way, look a certain way, or behave a certain way because of their nostalgia, because of things that they had experienced in their past. Because our greatest personal connection to our childhood selves is through nostalgia.